today with Kitab Al-Fatihah. Attention to all participants. Please ensure that your audio Zoom application is on silent mode. For the information, the attendance will be provided 30 minutes after the talk, and the feedback form will be provided before 5 minutes the program ends. All the participant needs to fill out the attendance and feedback form to get the CTD points. Without further ado, I would like to invite our speaker, Dr. Hariyati, to start our program today. Please welcome, Doctor.
All right. Thank you, Shahira. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa hlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Amma ba'd. All right, first and foremost, I would like to thank International Islamic University Malaysia campus for the invitation, for the trust given to me today to share with you a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of insight, and some sharing to our colleagues there in Kuantan on how to better manage our mental health. It's a very important topic. Jadi saya insyaAllah akan cuba memenuhi kepercayaan yang diberikan oleh pihak UAE Kuantan supaya kita dapat manfaat sedikitlah daripada ilmu yang telah yang akan dikongsikan. Tapi sebelum tu saya nak tahu sikitlah Syaira, participants kita hari ini is made up of?
Kita ada clinical staff, kita ada admin staff.
Alright, okay. So it's a combination, yeah?
Yes.
And semuanya serving the hospital ke macam mana?
Yes, semua serving the hospital.
Alright. Okay, so thank you very much. InsyaAllah saya diberikan masa selama 2 jam, tapi saya tak akan bercakap selama 2 jam. Kita akan berkongsi pandangan, berkongsi ilmu sedikit, ya, berkongsi pengalaman. Jadi insyaAllah saya akan buka presentation saya ataupun our session today throughout the session. With question and answer session. Saya nak share dengan you also. I'm not a staff from psychology. I'm not a staff of UAE lagi. Saya dah pun retire from the university, but it's always nice to be back. It's always nice to be back in Kuantan, being with all of you today. All right, so insyaAllah kita akan mulakan. So nampak ke you all? Selalu kena tanya soalan ni.
Nampak, Doktor?
Okay, tapi saya tak nampak you all, so it's okay. All right, so the topic that I'm going to give today ialah, I've prepared it in English, but insyaAllah saya akan share both dalam bahasa Malaysia dan bahasa Inggeris lah. Mental health of frontliners and essential workers, caring for yourself. Okay. Jadi, this session that we're going to have today is not a lecture session. Saya fikir banyak kali bagaimana saya nak kongsi dengan kawan-kawan kita di Kuantan mengenai topik yang diberikan. Saya boleh kasih lecture, tapi saya rasa insyaAllah it's going to be a hybrid session di mana kita akan mendapat atau saya akan berkongsi sedikit ilmu psikologi, dan tapi saya juga inginkan feedback or sharing from the participants here, sebab apa yang kita akan lakukan pada hari ini adalah mengenai our frontliners, the people who work with patients, with the hospital, taking care of others. Yeah. So I hope that you will feel safe to speak to me, to share with your colleagues here on what you have been going through, the challenges that you have been going through, and perhaps for my part, I will share with you ways to manage the negative emotions or the distress that you experience. Tapi saya akan mulakan. All right, I'm going to start this session today with a disclaimer. I am not in your shoes. Many people are not in your shoes. We often see these images. Saya apabila berikan sesi perkongsian macam ni, sharing session with my frontliners or colleagues at the hospitals, I will tell them that I'm not in your shoes. I don't wear your shoes. I don't wear your PPE. I don't wear the face shields. More than 12 hours, I do not know what you go through. I do not thoroughly appreciate the challenges, all right? that you have to go through day in and day out for many of you. Jadi saya berada di sini bukan sebagai expert of what you do, but as a cheerleader, as a supporter, all right, to let you know that there are people out there who do care. There are people out there who do want to be of support, who want to acknowledge and validate what you go through. Jadi apa yang Ayang Kuantan buat pada hari ini, under the leadership of Encik Azli, right? I think he was the one who has asked his team to invite me today, is to share with you that what you do is important. We value you, and we validate what you go through, the experience that you go through. All right. So what I'm going to do now is to share with you a video. Saya tak dapat nak cari video daripada Malaysia, so I'm going to share with you a video from WHO, all right, about the frontliners, I think in Spain. So the sound will not be heard, so I can close the sound ataupun tutup the sound, switch off the sound, but I hope that you will read the sari kata yang dituliskan di situ. Sebab I think it's very important that we appreciate the sharing of these individuals here dalam video ni. All right. My own emotional journey through the first and second has been a roller coaster. We need to face our emotions and to pretend that everything is good. I don't find it appropriate to speak of fatigue and stress when people around me are in need and fighting for life. The unpleasant events and severe disease outcomes affect us deeply. We cry under the mask quite often. I was holding a phone next to a dying woman's ear while her daughter said in her final goodbyes. And that was very, very difficult for me. And I did seek some support there. Although this has improved and it does not happen anymore, in the beginning, I often had nightmares. They were related to the pandemic and the hospital at first. I couldn't rest at all. Even while asleep, I'd continue working. But later, there came really unpleasant nightmares related to my family, death, or something like that. It's often after the event, after things have calmed down, once people are a bit less busy, once people have a bit of time to reflect, that some of the more challenging psychological kind of repercussions of that experience come to the fore. What was happening to me was also happening to my colleagues. We talked about it because when you think you're alone with something, you talk to your colleagues and realize they feel the same. You become very, very mindful of how fragile a situation really are in reality. So how can we make sure that after the pandemic, teams are still connecting really positively? They're still spending time talking with each other. They're still spending time looking after each other in order to look after the patients that we serve. We all knew you'd have some sore hands. We knew our faces would be sore from the mask. We knew we'd be tired. We knew that we'd be hungry. A lot of us went without breaks during this time, but we had each other. So these are the frontline stories that I wanted to share with you. All right, so these were in English and in Spanish, but I feel many of you feel or understand what they have gone through, what they're saying. The reason why I'm sharing, ada bunyi lah, Shahira. All right, so the stories that they're sharing, the reason I'm sharing this is because I want to share with you, I want to show you that not everyone will understand what you go through. Only frontliners, having been in the same situation, would understand what you go through. All right, so you have each other. So orang luar ni yang datang ni hanyalah sebagai penyokong, memberikan sokongan, memberikan bantuan supaya kerja frontliners di luar sana lebih you all dapat melakukan kerja you all dengan lebih baik, right? All right, so what I'm going to do is continue with the presentation. So the message behind that particular video that I shared earlier is that everyone in Malaysia, around the world, is going through the pandemic. We're going through the pandemic together, all right? But not everyone is in the same boat. We are all in different types of boats. Some people have a yacht, yeah, boat yang besar, boat yang selesa. They have a lot of resources. They have someone to help them cook. They have someone to help them take care of their children. They have someone to actually, go to the grocery store and buy things. Tapi ada yang duduk di dalam sampan, alright? Terumbang ambing, tidak mempunyai resources yang lain selain daripada ahli keluarga mereka. Ada di antara kita yang mungkin hanya berada di atas a piece of plank, papan untuk survive. Alright, we don't have anyone around us to help. But then again, ada di antara kita yang mempunyai kapal yang besar pun, tetapi mungkin merasa lonely. Alright, they don't have anyone to talk to. They feel that they're alone in the boat. So we cannot judge what others are going through. All we need to do is to make sure that we look out for each other, all right, and see who can be of support, who can be of help. Tak ada seorang pun yang lebih baik compared to everyone else, right? Because everyone has their story in the boat that they carry with them through this pandemic. Ini kan pula lagi our frontliners who have to go through every single day worrying about how many more cases they have to deal with, worrying about who will get the ventilator, who will get access to the ICU. Frontliners also include mereka di forensic unit. All right, saya di Masjid Malaysia, are working with different hospitals, and we realize that people in forensic, our ambulance drivers do not even have much time to eat. All right, they don't have allocated time to eat because there's been so many burials, pengebumian that they have to actually do. So some hospitals have even requested Masjid Malaysia to provide lunch and breakfast and dinner for the frontliners who have to actually do this difficult task day in and day out. So I would like to begin our session today with a perception, all right, ataupun with a view that our frontliners are going through stories that none of us yang tidak menjadi frontliners can ever appreciate. And that's why it's very important for frontliners to take care of yourselves and to take care of each other, because we cannot truly understand what you go through. All right. So some issues reported by frontliners, this has been reported or published in different journal articles, all right? And many of them reported feeling very stressed out and stretched too thin. And I think this is what many of our frontliners are going through here in Malaysia now, with the case yesterday being the highest. 93% of healthcare workers were experiencing stress. 86% reported experiencing anxiety. All right, they reported frustration, reported exhaustion and burnout, and said that they were overwhelmed. Walaupun alhamdulillah ada cerita di surat khabar yang mengatakan bahawa dah nampak a light at the end of this very long dark tunnel. They say that the tunnel is still very long. All right, worried about exposing loved ones. 76% of healthcare workers with children reported that they were worried about exposing the child to COVID-19, and nearly half were worried about exposing their spouse or partner. Many are worried that they will expose their older adult family members. Saya yang bukan bekerja di dalam hospital day in and day out, exposed to COVID-19, but I'm taking care of my father who's bedridden with Alzheimer's and my mom who's a survivor stroke, get worried. Every time saya keluar, pergi kerja, pergi masjid ke, pergi site visits ke, even pergi 7-Eleven, I come back feeling still worried whether I'm bringing COVID-19 with me. All right, so ini kan pula frontliners who have to do that day in and day out. Kami di rumah masih lagi menggunakan mask. Yeah, when I get out of my room, my office room ni, I would actually wear a mask when I communicate or engage with my parents. just to make sure that my worries, anxiety are lessened. Emotionally and physically exhausted, more than 50% report feeling exhausted, all right? Report having trouble sleeping, report having physical exhaustion, and work will also report work-related dread. Maknanya, macam mana nak aku nak pergi kerja ni? Apa lagi yang akan terjadi? Hopefully cases turun, hopefully ada katil, all right, untuk patients. Tapi that's something that is outside of your control. Over half selected changes in appetite, physical symptoms. They have started having physical symptoms. And what's worrying also is that they have what we call questioning. They question career path mereka. You know, a lot of doctors with the issues recently question whether they should continue being a doctor. They question whether they should continue being a healthcare provider. Is it worth it? They may also, and this is something very, very specific to people who work in the helping profession, compassion fatigue. Mereka rasa kepenatan, right? Mereka rasa exhausted because mereka tidak dapat membantu 100% orang-orang yang mereka nak bantu. They feel what their patients are going through. They feel it when they have to show, you know, to make that phone call to the parent, to the family members of patients who need to be intubated. They also have a heightened awareness or attention to being exposed, right? Nurses reported having a higher exposure to COVID-19, and they were more likely to feel too tired compared to other healthcare workers. And I'm sure that many nurses in Malaysia also experience similar feelings, similar exhaustion, similar fatigue. They also feel that they're not getting enough emotional support. Nearly 40% of healthcare workers said they did not feel like they had adequate emotional support. And they're also struggling with parenting. Among people with children, half reported they were lacking quality time or unable to support their children or be a present parent. So maybe what I can hear from you now is, kalau boleh tulis dalam chat box ke, ataupun nak share verbally ke, what have been your experiences this past year and a half, lebih daripada 1.5 tahun sekarang, selepas MCO 1.0, dah nearly 2 tahun apabila the first COVID-19 virus arrived on the shores of Malaysia. Maybe you can share with us. Saya tak nak short sendiri pandang screen lah. So ada di antara kawan-kawan kita di sini yang mungkin nak share what you have gone through maybe. You can write it in the chat box. Salam. Ada siapa yang nak share? Sebab saya tak boleh nak bercakap banyak mengenai apa yang you all share, except based on my interviews with frontliners. You know, frontliners, we're not just talking about doctors and nurses. Like I said, people in the forensic, people who are cleaners at the hospital, administrative staff who have to deal with all the cases, data management, all right? Ambulance drivers. What can you share with me? Hamiza? Hamiza boleh share ke? Ataupun tak nak? Saya nampak nama you besar kat sini. Ada siapa sini yang mungkin nak share? Saya cakap seorang sekarang ni.
Ada, doktor.
Okay. Mungkin belum rasa selamat untuk berkongsi, mungkin rasa tak selesa lagi untuk berkongsi. Sebenarnya kan, saya nak cerita sedikit lah. I think this is quite common among our Malaysian frontliners. This is one of the challenges that I've been going through, I've experienced as someone who provides mental health and psychosocial support to frontliners kita di Malaysia. Sebab ramai di antara, ataupun bukan ramai, apabila pandemik ini berlaku dan we know how severe it is, we tell our frontliners to continuously to be strong, alright, untuk terus kuat, untuk terus menghadapi apa-apa cabaran yang dihadapi, yang akan dihadapi, yang sedang dihadapi. Jadi ramai di antara frontliners yang bila saya dapat peluang untuk berborak dengan mereka akan kata, you know, satu, memang culture kita lah dekat Malaysia ni tidak bercakap mengenai emosi yang negatif, ataupun tak rasa selamat untuk bercakap mengenai emosi negatif mereka kepada orang luar. Kalau di antara mereka mungkin they are willing to. Dan satu lagi, mungkin mereka rasa expectations from people outside. Alright, orang di luar sana expect them to be strong, expect them to be able to do everything. and they see expressions of stress, expressions of anxiety, expressions of worry sebagai satu benda yang lemah, menunjukkan mereka lemah, mereka tidak boleh menjalankan tugas mereka dengan baik. And this is one of the challenges for me giving a talk to frontliners, because many may feel that way. I'm not saying you do feel that way, but maybe feel that way. And especially kalau nak cakap dengan psychologist kan, dia takut kita akan diagnose mereka sebagai ada anxiety ke depression. But what we want to share with you is that all these emotions are normal reactions. Kalau kita menghadapi sesuatu krisis, kita akan takut, kita akan risau, kita akan gelisah. Ada di antara kita yang mungkin tidak boleh tidur. And these are normal reactions. Tapi apa yang kita perlu accept is that it is okay to talk about it. It is okay to express. Tidak semestinya kalau kita risau semalam, kita akan risau selama 2 tahun, alright? Ataupun 2 minggu. Kita risau sebab ada perkara yang mungkin kita tidak dapat nak solve, and we need someone else's help, alright? I've just given a talk dekat private hospital, Anur Hospital, about the losses that they have gone through because they have lost their own staff, ya. Ada kes kematian di kalangan staff mereka, ada kematian di kalangan ahli keluarga staff mereka. So I talked about how it's important to be able to express the grief so that kita di luar sana boleh validate ataupun mengakui ataupun memberikan sokongan kepada rakan-rakan kita yang bekerja tak kira masa untuk menjaga pesakit-pesakit COVID sekarang ni dan juga pesakit-pesakit lain, ya. So we're not just talking about COVID now, we talk about patients with cancer. I've just lost a very good friend, someone I consider adik. She was a staff at psychology department, alright, di Gombak, to breast cancer. So kematian sekarang bukan saja kematian disebabkan oleh COVID-19, tapi kematian disebabkan oleh juga penyakit-penyakit lain seperti diabetes and breast cancer. So, and I wish to talk about it to make sure that people understand that it's okay to be able to share that grief. So mungkin ada di antara kawan-kawan kita yang mungkin nak ataupun sudah ataupun sanggup berkongsi sedikit pengalaman mungkin apa yang video tu tadi share. Mungkin ada yang di antara kawan-kawan kita di sini yang pernah alaminya. Itu macam mana? Is that it? Okay, that's all right. Okay, so I will continue with my presentation. Kalau ada yang nak share in the chat box, I welcome you to share. Okay. All right, so how do we begin? How do we begin this talk? It's very important that we realize or we recognize and we validate the experiences of the people who participated in this research, which I think ada menggambarkan reality di luar sana di Malaysia. Jadi, how do we begin talking about this? I think it's very important that we understand what we know or what we go through when we experience stress. Alright, stress adalah selalunya, bukannya setiap masa, tapi selalunya stress adalah permulaan kepada masalah kesihatan mental yang lebih serius. Alright, stress is something that everyone experiences. Kita semua mengalami stress. Saya mengalami stress sebab saya menjaga bapa saya yang ada Alzheimer's, bedridden, very vulnerable to being exposed to COVID-19. And I can get highly stressed out if a nurse resigns within 24 hours. Sebab saya dah tak boleh nak angkat my father lagi dah. Saya selama 2 tahun saya angkat beliau, sekarang saya tak boleh angkat lagi. So bila a nurse resigns within 24 hours or doesn't turn up, that makes me feel it. That makes me experience high levels of stress. That's my main stressor. But alhamdulillah now, because I understand my own reactions, my own reactions to stressors, I'm able to manage them better. So how do you know that you experience stress? So dalam gambar ni, the zebra knows that it's experiencing stress when the dia punya benda tu dah mula jatuh lah. Alright, the stripes begin to fall. So for you, what are your warning signs of stress? It can be physical, it can be behavioral, it can be cognitive, it can be emotional. Maknanya it can, ianya boleh terjadi dalam keadaan physical, alright, tingkah laku kita, pemikiran kita, dan emosi kita. So mungkin kita boleh tanya kawan-kawan kita di sini, alright, bagaimanakah you all tahu yang you all mengalami stres? Ni ada sama nak chat dengan saya sini. Ada link attendance. Oh, okay, alright. So macam mana? Bagaimana you all tahu you all stress? Zebra tu tahu tadi? Alright, siapa nak cakap?
Kalau kita rasa macam ni
Okay.
Kamila Zahara cakap kusut kepala.
Kamila kusut kepala, betul. Okay, salah satu simptom stres, kusut kepala. Bukan kusut rambut ya, kusut kepala. Tapi kalau kusut rambut pun sebenarnya rambut tak disikat, rambut tidak dijaga setelah beberapa lama, mungkin ianya juga adalah tingkah laku an indication that you're going through more stress than usual. Sleep pattern changes, yes, Anis, absolutely. Many people are not able to fall asleep easily. Ada yang boleh tidur, tapi tak boleh nak stay asleep. Alright, dia terjaga satu malam, bukannya untuk minum air je ke, tapi selalu terjaga, alright, semasa tidur. Ada yang dah tidur 5 jam, 6 jam, tapi bangun terasa teramat penat. A lot of people who go through stress report that they find it difficult to fall asleep, they find it difficult to stay asleep, they find it difficult when they wake up to actually feel rested, alright. Kusut kepala, alright. Rasa frustra tiba. Okay, maknanya out of nowhere you feel very frustrated. You feel that your heart actually starts, like, oh, aku geramnya, aku tension aku dengan apa yang terjadi sekarang. Muscle tension is very, very often, alright, frequently happens. People report feeling tense around the muscles. Muscles bukan saja dekat tangan ke ataupun di belakang. It starts from the head, goes down to the neck, to the shoulders, all right, to your back. Every part of your body can actually start aching. Anyone else? So kita ada muscle tension, physical, sleep pattern, tingkah laku, rasa frust, emotional. Ada siapa lagi? Mungkin ada siapa yang tahu stress symptoms, pemikiran ke? Trying to isolate ourselves. Anis, yes. So alhamdulillah kalau saya ada coklat, saya dah kasih coklat pada Anis dah. Dia dah jawab 3 kali dah. Trying to isolate ourselves maknanya dia bukan mengurung diri, tapi menjauhkan diri daripada orang di sekeliling. Dia tak ambil phone, dia tak nak keluar, susah nak keluarkan, tapi tak nak berkomunikasi dengan orang lain lah. Alright, yes. So isolating yourself can also be a symptom of stress. I do not want to be bothered with anyone else. Alright. So what you need to remember is that stress symptoms, you need to be aware of your own personal stress symptoms. Setiap di antara kita mempunyai stress symptoms yang berbeza. Alright, macam saya, I know my stress symptoms. 2 benda yang selalunya very, very often occurring is when I start to drink coffee more than usual. I will reach out, saya akan buat kopi, saya akan minum kopi, saya akan tak akan fikir pun pasal minum kopi, saya telan je kopi tu. Alright, and then the next thing I know, dah 4-5 mugs of coffee dah. So when that happens, and it happens more than usual, alright, then I know that my stress level is higher than usual. And also physiologically, mata saya akan start having tics and twitches macam tu. Alright, so I cannot control the tics and twitches. So what I need to do is to take a step back and say, whoa, am I experiencing more stress than usual today? Alright, so there are many other different types of symptoms of stress that we need to be aware of. So what I will do is, I have not written them down, but the physical warning signs would be, like I said, aches, tension, all right, pain, new pain that's not there before. Behavioral changes could be, ada yang tak nak bercakap dengan orang, tapi ada yang akan marah dengan orang lebih daripada biasa. So katalah for instance, balik ke rumah and then your son or your daughter says to you, Papa ni selalu, lately ni Papa nak marah je, sikit-sikit nak marah, sikit-sikit nak menjerit, sikit-sikit nak marah. Alright, and then you kata kepada anak you, bila pula Papa marah? Mana Papa biasa je, tak ada perubahan pun. Ya, Papa selalu sekarang marah, sikit-sikit tinggikan suara. Abang dengan adik takut tak bila Papa marah macam tu. Nah, bila your child, sometimes we are not even aware of the tingkah laku kita yang telah berubah. Alright, tapi bila ada orang lain yang memberikan kita feedback sebegitu, we need to listen and we need to say, am I experiencing more stress than usual? Alright, so behaviors can also be, some people smoke more than usual, or they start to smoke. Sebelum ni dia tak merokok, tapi sekarang dia dah mula merokok, dan bagi yang merokok, mereka merokok lebih daripada biasa. Alright, tidur kita pun berubah. Cara pemakanan kita pun berubah. Appetite kita akan berubah. Ada yang tak langsung tak nak makan, ada yang makan berlebihan. Tetapi masalahnya ramai di antara kita makan makanan yang tidak sihat. Sekali-sekala makan kacang, makan benda-benda jajan ni, it's okay, it's fine. Tapi kalau dalam masa 2 minggu, you notice that your weight has gained, you have gained weight, alright, and you don't even know where it comes from, then maybe you have not been able to cope with the stress well. Cognitive ni pemikiran. Banyak lagi dalam tingkah laku tadi lah, itu adalah the more common ones. Cognitive, pemikiran, kita tak boleh nak fokus. Alright, kita tak boleh nak provide attention. We find it difficult to remember things. Then that it could be a warning sign that's cognitive in nature. Emotional, anger, all right, being aggressive, or feeling down, feeling sad, not wanting to actually speak to anyone. Emotions, yeah, different ranges of emotion. Ada yang menangis, all right, senang menangis, tak ada benda pun berlaku lah. I mean, benda yang biasa berlaku, tapi dia senang menangis dengan apa-apa yang berlaku di sekeliling dia. Ada yang tak nak langsung bercerita dengan orang, tak ada langsung merasai apa-apa. Alright, ada orang yang marah, lebih senang marah. Now, these warning signs are common sebenarnya. Kita semua ada warning signs begini. Tetapi kalau ini lebih daripada biasa, then you need to take a step back. Kalau kita dah mula marah pada patients ataupun mula marah pada colleagues kita, kita mula isolate ourselves, kita buat kerja kita sendiri, then maybe you are experiencing more stress than usual. Tapi stress ni sebenarnya kawan-kawan ya, rakan-rakan semua, it's not bad. Kita perlukan stress. Itu pasal banyak sekarang workshops yang nak kita embrace stress, nak kita welcome stress in our life. Because stress ni sebenarnya, kalau kadar dia adalah just the right amount, alright, and masa dia yang terjadi pun just the right amount, actually performance kita will be optimum. Maknanya kita akan dapat perform dengan lebih baik, alright, dengan bagus sekali. Our productivity, our performance is actually good. This stress is called eustress. So the more stress you experience, and the longer it is, alright, up until one point, you will experience what we call eustress, increased attention, increased interest. Kita kena ada stress. Kalau tak ada KPI, kalau tak ada deadline, kita tak boleh nak bekerja. Kalau tak ada patience to work, we will not be able to actually perform. Tapi what we worry about is if the stress berlanjutan, berlarutan, berlebihan, alright, kita akan mula menunjukkan simptom-simptom anxiety, simptom depression, simptom burnout, dan mungkin juga ada di antara kita yang tidak sihat in the first place, yang merokok, yang tak makan makanan yang sihat, tak menjaga pemakanan kita, tak dapat cukup tidur, alright, mungkin akan mendapat penyakit kronik yang serius, dan juga maybe also exposed to COVID-19 a lot easier. So what does this mean? Stress does not start off as bad. Saya cakap pasal stress ni sebab stress adalah a mental health issue. Alright, masalah kesihatan mental yang bukan lagi menjadi penyakit mental, tapi ianya adalah permulaan. So according to Jemima ni, mental health first aid instructor, is something I truly believe. Stress can be the first step to mental illness, and it's still perceived as a weakness rather than a response to excessive demands at work. Most people do not learn how to look after their mental health. kebanyakan di antara kita tak tahu menjaga kesihatan mental. Walaupun kita cakap macam mana pun, ramai di antara kita masih lagi fikirkan kesihatan mental itu tidak penting. Alright? And that is something employers and employees need to work together to address. Maknanya sekarang, Alhamdulillah, dah ada talk, banyak saya rasa talk on mental health di mana-mana sahaja, termasuk di UIA, termasuk juga di UIA Kuantan, saya percaya. Alright, so sekarang ni bila kita kasih talk macam ni, yang menunjukkan employers are concerned about your mental health. Tetapi kita tidak akan tahu mengenai masalah kesihatan mental ataupun isu kesihatan mental jikalau kita tidak kongsi, kita tidak beritahu yang kita ada mengalami isu kesihatan mental. Bukan penyakit mental dah serius dah. Anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder. Right? Kita nak bercakap mengenai isu kesihatan mental yang ramai di antara kita lalui, especially masa pandemik ni. Tetapi kalau kita tidak peka, kita tidak aware, kita tidak mahu proses, kita tidak mahu accept, ianya akan mungkin jadi masalah kesihatan mental yang lebih serius. So failure to identify signs and symptoms early and mobilize effective coping strategies may result in more serious mental health issues. All right. Now, ini adalah some items from a questionnaire that measures apa yang kita panggil burnout. Jikalau ada di antara kita yang jawab ya kepada banyak item-item di sini, alright, mungkin kita ada what we call burnout. Of course, this is not a diagnostic assessment. These are just items to make you realize where you are now in terms of your mental health. I feel emotionally drained from my work. I feel used up at the end of the day. Saya dah semua tenaga saya dah digunakan. At the end of the day, saya rasa dah semua dah digunakan. Bila balik rumah dah tak ada apa lagi nak offer pada keluarga saya. I feel overwhelmed because my workload seems endless. Kerja saya tak pernah habis. I feel tired when I get in the morning and face another day on the job. And this is what you have to go through every single day. Now, some people, ada di antara kita yang walaupun kerja sebagai frontliner, tidur mungkin 2-3 jam, tapi bila bangun pagi, dia rasa segar. And there's a reason for it, and I will share with you. Working all day is really a strain for me. Ia membebankan saya. Bekerja seharian membebankan saya. Saya rasa I find it difficult to separate my personal life from my work as a healthcare worker. Saya rasa susah nak separate ataupun asingkan hidup saya daripada hidup personal saya dengan hidup saya sebagai seorang nurse ataupun frontline worker. I just want to do my job and not be bothered. Aku nak buat kerja je, aku tak nak orang lain kacau aku. Kalau ada di antara kita yang menjawab ya ataupun I feel very much many of these items, you may be experiencing what we call burnout. Dan very interestingly, Dewan Bahasa dan Pustaka beberapa bulan lepas atau beberapa minggu lepas sudah pun berkongsi perkataannya dalam bahasa Malaysia, ya, because it is now real. People are now recognizing that burnout is real. Lesu upaya. Bukan saja penat, bukan saja lesu, tapi lesu upaya. What does that mean? It's a psychological syndrome involving emotional exhaustion, depersonalization, and a diminished sense of personal accomplishment as a result of experiencing prolonged stress at the workplace, dealing with challenging situations. What does this mean? It means that kita mengalami kepenatan, kelesuan fizikal dan emosi yang berpanjangan. Kita rasa tidak lagi connected, alright, ataupun in touch with the people around us, with the things around us. Kita mula rasa aku tak lagi efficient. Aku tak lagi mendatangkan manfaat. Kerja aku banyak, aku dah buat banyak, tapi aku tak nampak pun apa yang aku buat. Selepas kita mengalami stres yang berlarutan dan berpanjangan di tempat kerja dan juga apabila kita menghadapi challenging situations like the pandemic and MCO. So burnout ni selalunya digunakan untuk menggambarkan kelesuan upaya di tempat kerja. Alright, and selalunya ianya dialami oleh helpers, teachers, nurses, medical workers, orang yang memberikan diri mereka kepada orang lain selalunya. Alright. Dan sekarang ni the challenging situation is ramai di antara kita sudah pun mengalami burnout, tapi kita tidak recognize atau tidak akui yang kita mengalami burnout. Ada di antara kita bukan saja mengalami burnout dekat tempat kerja ya. Ada di antara kita yang mengalami burnout sebagai seorang ibu dan juga di tempat kerja. Ada di antara kita yang mengalami burnout sebagai caregiver, menjaga ibu bapa kita yang dah tua, yang dah berumur, yang sakit mungkin, alright, dan juga bekerja di tempat kerja, mengalami burnout di tempat kerja. So ada di antara kita yang bukan saja mengalami satu jenis burnout, they may experience two types of burnout, 3 different burnouts. But many of us are experiencing the pandemic burnout. Dah tak larat lagi dah. Kepenatan, memikirkan berapa lama lagi, berapa banyak lagi kes yang akan ada. Dah rasa aku buat macam mana, aku pakai mask pun tak guna. Aku basuh tangan aku pun tak guna juga. Aku tak keluar rumah pun kes masih lagi tinggi. Jadi aku tak kisah lagi dah. So this is what burnout can do. Depersonalization ni maknanya aku dah tak kisah. Aku dah kecewa dengan apa yang terjadi. Alright. And usually it can happen to also frontliners because you feel that kita dah buat semua dah. Kita dah kepenatan, kita dah suruh Malaysians jangan keluar rumah. Alright, duduk di rumah, biar kita yang bekerja. Alright, and then kita rasa masih lagi tak, orang-orang rakyat Malaysia tak dengar. And then kita frustrated because ventilators tak cukup, katil tak cukup, alright. Kita nurses tak cukup, ada nurses kita dah sakit, kita rasa kecewa dan kita rasa cynical, dan mula rasa cynical lah, dan kita rasa kita tidak dapat menjalankan tugas kita dengan baik. Now, for those of you who are taking care of frontliners in the administration and managerial perspective, you need to be on the lookout for these outcomes of burnout. All right. If now there's low productivity, if there are increased errors and mistakes, all right, jangan salahkan pekerja kita. Kalau ada kesilapan, needle injuries, needle mistakes, for instance, right? So for me, I have a medical assistant yang tolong jaga my father during the weekend sekarang ni. He works at one of the klinik kesihatan lah di Negeri Sembilan ni. Dia kata, doktor, kita orang sekarang diberitahu yang we need to vaccinate 900 patients sekarang. Sedangkan sebelum ni kita diberitahu yang kita akan vaccinate 500 orang. Alright. So saya tanya dia, kalau you all vaccinate 900, is there any increase in the number of vaccinators? Dia kata tak. Number of vaccinators still the same. Alright. But the number of people we need to vaccinate will increase nearly double. Now, so that is actually very worrying because the resources yang kita ada are not meeting the demands that are being made. So he actually said sebagai vaccinator, dia kata kerja kita walaupun just vaccinate, tapi we can make mistakes. Kadang-kadang kita terlupa, kadang-kadang kita terlalu penat, kadang-kadang kita mengantuk, bukan sebab kita nak buat kesilapan tu, tetapi ianya boleh terjadi. So that is a real outcome of burnout, increased errors and mistakes, especially when it comes to in now dealing with COVID-19 vaccination. It can be a very, very dire outcome. Increased conflicts di antara management dan staff, among staff, di antara staff dengan family members, di antara staff dengan community, all right? Breakdown in communication. I'm worried about mistrust among colleagues and employers. That can also happen. When people are burnt out, they feel that, alah, cakap je nak kasih, cakap je nak include more, funding, nak dapatkan funding, tapi tak dapat pun. Alright, so that can actually be an indication of mistrust. Whatever you all cakap je, you all promise all these things, tapi kita orang juga masih buat kerja lagi. So when there is an announcement being made by the leader, by the manager, we feel, alah, cakap je. Alright, tapi tak tahu dekat ground zero. So that can be very harmful. Alright, so again, sometimes kita rasa we're working with difficult staff, tapi the staff, if they begin to actually have or express all this, it shows that they may be suffering from burnout. High turnover rate of well-qualified staff who are hard to replace. We need more nurses, we need more doctors, but we know that some nurses are now thinking about resigning. We know some healthcare workers are thinking about retiring, all right, opting for early retirement. Damage to image and negative public relations. This is something that we have been seeing in our public hospitals. High cost of sick leave and disabilities. And these are real, all right? People need to actually take their medical leave. They may become disabled. If you have mental health issues, if you're depressed or you're anxious, you are eligible for sick leave, all right, disabled leave. Now that's at the organizational level. Tapi at the personal level, all right, we may feel numb. Kita tak boleh nak rasa. Bukan numb as in physical numbness lah. All right, yang kalau kita ada diabetes, tetapi feeling numb. Aku dah tak kisah dah apa nak buat. Aku park kereta aku buat apa yang aku patut. I become a robot. All right, I'll just do what I can. So if that is what you have been feeling lately, you may be experiencing some burnout. Feeling unappreciated. Maknanya kita rasa kita tidak dihargai kerja, kita tidak dihargai kerja, kita sebagai zombie saja untuk melakukan apa yang kita perlu lakukan. Changed values. Now, this is very important. Ramai di antara kita yang menjadi helper ataupun healthcare worker sebab kita nak berbakti. Alright, kita nak membantu orang lain. Kita make sure that Malaysians stay healthy. But if you start saying that, alah, kau nak stay healthy, kau punya pasal lah. Kau nak sihat, kau sihat. Kalau kau tak nak, kau punya pasal. If you don't have the old values anymore, then you may be experiencing burnout. Grandiose beliefs about own importance. Apabila kita rasa kita ni sahaja yang buat benda betul, orang lain semua salah. Alright, staff nurse kita salah. Alright, or ambulance drivers kita yang salah, or technical kita people yang salah, or management kita yang salah. Kita rasa kita sahaja yang betul. Kita tak nak dengar cerita orang lain, kita tak nak dengar pengalaman orang. Kita rasa kalau kita tak ada, kita tak akan organisation tak akan dapat apa yang telah dicapai, then we may be burning out. Alright, heroic but reckless behavior. Kita nak save the organisation, kita nak save department kita nak save patients, tapi kita lakukan sesuatu yang mungkin akan mendatangkan kemudaratan kepada orang lain. Neglecting personal safety and physical needs. Kita dah tak lagi menjaga diri kita sendiri. Kita tak jaga keselamatan kita jaga kesihatan kita. Walaupun kita pakai mask, macam kita tadi kan, kalau kusut, minda kita kusut lain daripada rambut kita kusut. Kalau rambut kita pun kita dah tak kisahlah, kalau tudung tak kisahlah. Tapi ianya sebenarnya menunjukkan kita jaga tak diri kita, kita sayang tak diri kita. Kalau kita jaga dan sayang diri kita, kita akan buatkan benda-benda yang kita biasa buat. Loss of creativity, you rasa stagnant, you tak dapat rasa nak buat lebih. Alright, you rasa tak boleh nak think out of the box, you may be burnt out. And you begin to exhibit symptoms of illness. Alright, so all these outcomes of burnout have been studied. Alright, and they are good indicators of prolonged of your staff or kita sendiri experiencing prolonged stress that we have not been able to cope with. Jadi kita tak boleh nak cakap, alah biasalah semua orang macam tu, alah kita salahkan orang lain. Tapi sebenarnya kita kena tengok diri kita sendiri and say, what is happening sebenarnya? Sampaikan aku rasa setiap benda yang aku buat ni, aku nak orang appreciate apa aku lakukan. Sedangkan sebelum ni, aku tak kisah pun. Sebab kita penat, kita tired, kita rasa macam orang tak nampak sacrifices yang kita dah lakukan. Bukan kita nak minta, tapi kita rasa seperti orang tak hargai, walaupun orang hargai. Kita rasa seperti tidak dihargai. So, apa yang kadang-kadang kita tidak cerita, kita selalu cerita pasal frontliners, saving people's lives, are going through a lot of stressors in their life. Tapi sebenarnya frontline workers kita ni adalah manusia biasa juga. Mereka ada kehidupan mereka masing-masing. Mereka ada keluarga mereka masing-masing. Mereka ada harapan mereka, mereka ada kesalahan mereka, mereka ada kehilangan mereka juga. Mereka juga merasakan kehilangan. Bukan kita saja sebagai patients or patients families, community members yang merasakan kehilangan. Sebenarnya frontline workers are going through losses of their own. Alright, and the losses ni bukan saja loss of a loved ones, and that's very important. We'll talk about that in a while. We lose our health. Alright, kalau ada di antara frontliners worker kita yang mungkin telah mendapat COVID-19 and have recovered, they may be living with long COVID, but they need to continuously work. Mereka sebelum ni can work hard, can move a lot, you know, they have physical mobility, but now they feel fatigued and exhausted. All right, nurses and doctors, ambulance drivers, people who work in forensic, people who work the healthcare setting, they're always on the go. All right, so when they start feeling exhausted and fatigued, they cannot move a lot. It is a loss to them. Dia rasa, dulu aku boleh jalan cepat, dulu aku boleh buat kerja lebih cepat. Sekarang ni aku tak boleh dan mungkin akan mendatangkan kemudaratan pada tim aku. Cognitive functioning, they may start, you know, not being able to focus because they feel so exhausted. That can also be also a long COVID symptom kalau mereka telah mengalami COVID, or they may even have other living with other illnesses. Bukan semua frontliners are 100% healthy kan. Ada di antara frontliners kita yang ada diabetes, yang surviving cancer, or may actually have just recovered from stroke. So they may have changes in their cognitive functioning. And of course, also their emotional health. They may have lost some of their vigor, their enthusiasm, their motivation. Some have lost livelihood. Alright, alhamdulillah semua yang berada di sini hari ini masih ada kerja. Tapi mungkin kita ada suami atau isteri yang dah kehilangan pekerjaan. Alright, so you are now the only breadwinner at home. So that's a type of loss that you need to recognize. School, income, lifestyle, financial status. Alright, these are all common losses that many of us are going through right now. Tapi kita tak nampak. Relationships, and this is something very important that we need to talk about. Death of loved ones. Frontliners also have loved ones whom they have lost, not just to COVID-19, all right, to other illnesses. Saya ada cakap dengan seorang nurse recently where she had lost her father, who did not want, father dia tak nak pergi hospital sebab dia kesian dengan hospital yang terlalu ramai pesakit, dia takut nanti ialah dia ambil tempat pesakit COVID-19 ni. So as a result of, you know, care yang tidak dapat diberikan, he lost his life to, I think it was a heart attack. Death of loved ones, kadang-kadang bukan seorang je kita kehilangan, kita kehilangan 2, 3 kawan-kawan kita, alright, or orang-orang yang kita jaga, you know, satu hari kita nampak mereka, the next day they're no longer there, all right, to actually be the one to break the bad news to someone else. Changes in social support, losses in social support, ada di antara kita yang tak ada lagi ataupun dah mengalami perubahan dalam sokongan yang mereka ada dalam hidup mereka. People whom they can rely upon are no longer there, atau people they can rely upon pun mengalami masalah, mereka masing-masing tidak dapat memberikan sokongan pada kita lagi. Changes in work relationships, changes in spirituality and relationship with Creator. Ada di antara kita yang mungkin bertanya, menanya, menyoal, alright, apa yang terjadi dalam hidup kita ni lah. So kadang-kadang kita pun dah diberi warning kan, yang iman kita mungkin berbolak-balik. Kita diminta untuk meminta pada Allah, jangan bolak-balikkan iman kita setelah kita diberikan iman kita. Jadi kadang-kadang iman kita pun mungkin terjejas. Alright, that's a loss also. Identity, losses in identity, roles and responsibilities. Ada di antara kita sebab kehilangan suami, kehilangan orang tersayang, mungkin sekarang dah jadi both mother and father di rumah, menjaga anak-anak yang go through PDPR. Tapi kita tak boleh nak tengok kerja mereka sebab kita kena berada di hospital, kena berada di tempat kerja. Identity, meaning, what is the meaning of working as a frontliner? Mungkin, alright, ada di antara kita yang mungkin experience losses in self-esteem and self-efficacy. Self-efficacy ni maknanya perasaan yang kita boleh melakukan perkara-perkara yang kita sebelum ni boleh lakukan, tapi sekarang ni kita rasa kita tak boleh lakukan lagi sebab kita dah kehilangan keupayaan untuk melakukan sesuatu. Alright, mungkin kita boleh stop sekejap dan tanya, ada siapa yang nak share ke? Saya nampak ada chat di sini. Oh, 10 minutes. Alright, ada siapa yang nak tanya soalan? Saya rasa macam saya bercakap seorang diri sahaja di sini walaupun ada 60 orang. This can be a lonely session if I'm not talking to anyone. Anyone here? Ada feedback? Mungkin ada yang nak bercerita apa yang you know, some stress symptoms or burnout that you see in other people that you're concerned about. Mungkin apa yang saya share di sini tidak melambangkan 100% apa yang kawan-kawan kita di Kuantan alami. Tapi mungkin ada di antara kita yang sedang mengalaminya tapi tak nak bercerita sebab kita tak nak orang lain tahu mungkin. Ya? Ada siapa di sini yang nak share anything? Provide feedback ke, tanya soalan ke? Tanya soalan. Kalau kena cakap dengan psychologist di luar sana, mungkin you all kena bayar sampai RM200 sejam. There's a psychologist here that you can speak to. Maybe you can ask me a question. Ada siapa nak tanya soalan? Nak clarify ke, nak validate ke apa yang saya dah share tadi? No one? Saya kalau dekat dalam face-to-face training ni sedang sikit nak encourage. Anyone here would like to share, please? No? I'm very interested dekat forensic unit ni. Siapa dekat forensic unit ya? Boleh ceritakan sedikit tak pengalaman you all di forensic unit? Tak ada orang ke dekat sana?
Sebab lama tak pernah usah.
Sorry? Saya tak dengar. Forensic? No? Ada siapa lagi di sini yang boleh nak bercerita sedikit? Kalau tak pun you all working in the hospital setting, at least as an administrator, what are you concerned about? You know, people from IT, what are you, sorry pun kami tiada kamera dengan mic. Tak apa, it's okay. Tak ada kamera pun tak apa, asalkan you all berborak, berbincang dengan saya kat sini. Perlukah kita ada me time? Macam mana caranya? Okay, thank you Nazrin. Nanti saya touch on that. I think it's very important that you are, you've asked that question. Okay, saya akan jawab soalan itu nanti. Can I ask a question regarding the best way to handle our emotion and stress? InsyaAllah saya akan cakap mengenai the next an hour ni, saya akan fokus on that. Alright. Tak apa forensic, kami tiada kamera dengan mic. Itulah kalau kita orang, kalau boleh dapat funding kan, we want to provide the best for our frontliners di luar sana. Okay, tak apa. So I will continue because I think lebih ramai yang nak tahu bagaimana nak kita handle, alright, handle our stress levels. But before we do that, I just want to acknowledge something, alright. I want you to know this, something very important. Ada hari tu seorang yang tanya saya, bukan cakap saya, dia cakap dengan saya, doktor, kalau kita kehilangan ni kan, dalam Islam kan sebenarnya kita tak boleh nak menangis, kita tak boleh bersedih, alright, sebab bila kita bersedih tu macam kita tak reda dengan apa yang Allah dah kasih pada kita, alright. So I worry about this statement because orang yang mempunyai fikiran begitu mungkin belum ada skill untuk mengurus atau mengawal emosi mereka. Mungkin mereka belum lagi dengar atau tahu cerita daripada sirah Rasulullah SAW mengenai sahabat-sahabat dan baginda sendiri, cara mereka berhadapan dengan kehilangan. Alright. apabila kita bercakap mengenai sungkawa ni, grief ni, kehibaan ataupun kesedihan apabila kita kehilangan sesuatu, bukan kehilangan in terms of nyawa saja, kehilangan benda-benda, harta benda dan orang yang kita sayangi jugalah. Alright, it's actually a natural and necessary normal reactions, alright, to someone to when we face something that is painful or traumatic. Tetapi grief ni, perasaan sedih ni, tidak berlarutan, tidak berpanjangan sebenarnya. It actually fades over time. You may feel some pain, but this is a natural way of dealing with something that is traumatic or painful in our lives. All right, so you may shed some tears, you may have changes in your sleeping patterns, macam stress juga tadi, you may feel a lack of energy, you may lack you may lack appetite, changes in appetite, kita may want to withdraw from other people, kita ada masalah concentrating on our job. But this grief reaction ni adalah normal dan tidak akan berpanjangan. Alright, kalau kita tidak akui yang kita ada perasaan sebegitu, kalau kita pendam sahaja ataupun kita terima sahaja kehilangan yang kita ada tanpa mengakui, validate or talk about it, you may experience more serious grief reactions. Apa kita panggil chronic grief, grief yang akan berlarutan dan berpanjangan sebab kita tidak sebenarnya, walaupun kita kata aku reda, tapi sebenarnya dia tidak faham apa yang dilalui. Dia tidak dapat memproses perasaan mereka, alright, mengenai kehilangan yang mereka baru saja alami. So mereka mungkin mengalami apa kita panggil chronic grief. It lasts longer than usual. Ada yang mungkin mengalami apa kita panggil complicated grief. Alright, kehibaan yang complicated lah sebab banyak sangat yang terjadi. So kehilangan pekerjaan, kehilangan orang kita sayang, kehilangan mak kita, kehilangan kawan kita, tapi kita tak nak proses benda tu, ianya mungkin akan jadi complicated grief. Dan ramai di antara kita yang mungkin ada apa kita panggil delayed grief. Kita tahan, kita tak nak acknowledge yang kita sekarang sedang sedih, hiba dengan kehilangan kita. Kita simpan lama-lama, suppress reactions, dan sampai satu masa benda tu akan keluarlah, kita nak express tapi mungkin dah terlambat ataupun kita can be confused about what we go through. Kenapa aku rasa hiba, kenapa aku rasa sedih? Alright, sedangkan tak ada apa pun berlaku sekarang ni, tapi rupanya sebab dah lama kita pendam perasaan kita tu. Dan kalau kita tidak berhati-hati, ianya mungkin, I'm not saying it will, but ia mungkin akan membawa kepada masalah kesihatan mental yang lebih serius atau penyakit mental disorders ya, seperti anxiety, depression. And some, if we experience really traumatic events in our life and there's no closure, we may experience post-traumatic stress disorder. So how do we deal with all these distressing situations? Sebelum saya bercakap mengenai cara-cara, saya nak bercerita banyak examples ya of stress, anxiety, burnout dan juga grief yang saya observe in my patients when I was at Prince Court dulu, and also in my work with Mercy Malaysia. Katalah tak payah pergi jauh-jauh, kita pergi MH370 kan, and MH17. I led the team from Mercy Malaysia to provide support to our cabin crew, pilots, ya, mereka yang bekerja di counters because they have lost their friends. They were going through a lot of stress. People were asking them, questions that are not helpful. Tanya soalan orang-orang sekali, tanya soalan-soalan yang tidak membantu mereka cope with what they're going through. So when Mercy Malaysia came to flight management building dekat Malaysia Airlines tu, ramai di antara kawan-kawan kita di sana yang takut nak bercakap dengan psikologis lah kan, sebab mereka rasa we can go through this ourselves, we have each other, we know how to take care of ourselves. But after a few weeks, ramai di antara mereka mula dah cakap dengan kami yang mereka tak boleh nak tidur, they are experiencing nightmares, they have changes in appetite, that they don't feel motivated to come to work, they worry about going on the next flight, So alhamdulillah, selepas beberapa lama selepas kepercayaan telah dibina, baru mereka bercerita. Tapi pada masa yang sama, what we did was to train cabin crew, pilots, and all the staff, and many staff di Malaysia Airlines dengan skill untuk menjaga ataupun cope with the distress that they experience. Alright, so this is what we want to do. Bila saya bercakap pasal masalah kesihatan mental ni ataupun stress, burnout dan grief, for example, I want you to be able to see how you can, by understanding all these emotions, all right, only then you can do the right thing. Kalau kita tahu simptom stress atau simptom grief adalah tidak boleh tidur, jadi apa kita kena buat? Kita tahu ianya changes in appetite, apa kita boleh buat? Katalah kita were grieving, and then adik kita kata, Kak Long dah berapa hari tak makan ni, makan lah Kak Long, makan sikit je. Kak Long tak ada appetite nak makan. Kak Long kena makan, kalau Kak Long tak makan, siapa yang susah? Kak Long jatuh sakit. Now that is a real feedback given to you. Alright, so walaupun you tak ada appetite nak makan, tapi you realize, oh selalunya aku tak ada masalah makan, sekarang ni aku tak ada appetite nak makan, mungkin aku stress, mungkin I am grieving, alright, maybe I am burning out at work. I need to realize that so that I do something about it. Seperti juga kalau kita luka dekat tangan, tak kisahlah besar ke kecil lah. Kalau ada luka, kalau kita ignore je luka tu, alright, kalau kita mungkin tak tahu yang sebenarnya luka tu lebih dalam daripada yang kita jangka. Alright, at least kalau tak nak buat apa-apa pun, kita nampak luka tu, kita bersihkan luka tu. And then baru kita biarkan. Atau kita bersihkan luka tu, kita letak minyak sikit, kita biarkan. Ataupun luka tu lebih dalam sikit, kita bersihkan luka tu, letak minyak dan cover dengan gauze. Kalau dah teruk sangat, kita kena pergi jumpa doktor. So kita perlu ambil langkah awal supaya luka yang kita alami itu tidak menjadi lebih melarat. Kalau kita tidak jaga, kalau kita rasa tak biasalah luka-luka ni. Ya, some people kalau immune system dia kuat, dia dah banyak experience dalam mengharungi masalah atau challenges in life, insyaAllah dia akan dapat lagi. Tapi kebanyakan yang kita mungkin tidak ada experience yang sebegini. Jadi apa yang saya nak kata adalah when we share all these mental health issues, symptoms, warning symptoms that we need to be looking out for, it's actually for us to recognize that we are going through an emotional health challenge issue, masalah kesihatan mental yang kita perlu perbetulkan. Alright? So it's not to say that you adalah gila ataupun ada kegilaan ataupun ada depression, belum lagi, insyaAllah. Jadi kita kena cari jalan supaya ianya tidak terjadi seperti luka tu tadi. Alright. So itu pasal saya kata some people, how do we deal with all these distressing situations? Some people they pick up the same. Kalau dia stress, dia rasa grief, dia rasa sedih, dia ambil. Okay, dia light one cigarette and they smoke. And they smoke. And they smoke. Sometimes some people smoke more than usual. With each stress experience that they go through, they smoke more. And at the end of the day, yes, it can relieve stress. Ianya akan mengurangkan stress level kita. Ia akan membuatkan kita rasa lebih baguslah, ya. Can allow us to concentrate, because that's what cigarettes do. They have substances there that can help stimulate the brain. But in the long run, it causes more harm than good, especially jikalau itu adalah the only way, cara yang satu tu je lah yang kita tahu untuk mengendalikan, mengurus stres kita. Saya buat kerja dengan Novo Nordisk, ya, and helping Ministry of Health working with patients with diabetes, because there's now a lot of worries about patients with diabetes, ada comorbid diabetes and COVID-19, who are less likely to survive or do not survive easier or have problems in recovering if they have diabetes, and many of them smoke. All right, so it's actually a very important agenda sebenarnya to smoking cessation, to stop smoking should be a very important agenda in our healthcare. Sebab ramai di antara orang-orang di luar sana yang merokok, mereka tahu mereka merokok sebab nak kurangkan stres, tapi itu adalah satu cara saja yang mereka tahu untuk mengurangkan stres mereka. So bila isu ni kita tak tangani awal-awal, we are more likely to get, we are not going to be able to fight COVID in a more constructive way lah. Overeating, this is also a very major point. Some people cope dengan memakan makanan yang tidak sihat, unable to sleep, procrastinate. Ramai yang kita, okay, mungkin dekat hospital taklah buat macam ni, tapi ada di antara kita yang make work from home sekarang ni, kita procrastinate, tak nak, kita lambat-lambatkan, lengah-lengahkan kerja kita, isolate themselves, unable to control anger and become aggressive at work. So these are how some people cope. Dia dapat lepaskan stres mereka, dapat lepaskan kemarahan mereka, lepaskan rasa kepenatan mereka tu. Tetapi ianya tidak constructive. It is not healthy. So what can we do? We need to look at balancing, alright, tekanan-tekanan yang kita hadapi dalam hidup kita ni dengan resources atau sumber-sumber yang kita perlu ada dalam diri kita supaya kita boleh tangani tekanan yang kita hadapi. So soalannya sekarang, what are the resources that we have? Alright, so kita banyak tekanan, tekanan tempat kerja, tekanan keuangan, tekanan nature of work itself, tekanan kesihatan, tekanan keluarga mungkin. Jadi kalau kita mengalami semua tekanan-tekanan tidak cukup, katil dekat tempat kerja, tekanan tak cukup staff dekat tempat kerja. Jadi kita perlu cuba cari jalan supaya kita boleh balance balik demand yang kita ada ni dengan resources yang kita ada. Jadi mungkin saya boleh stop sekarang dan tanya apa resource yang kita ada. Siapa-siapa yang ada boleh jawab kat sini? Adam tanya. Okay. Mas, thank you. Ada orang tanya soalan. Is it okay if we deny our stress? Macam saya kata tadi, I hope I've answered that question tadi Mas Hidayu. Kalau kita ada stress, kita deny. Mungkin deny pada masa 1 hari boleh. Supaya kita nak concentrate dekat kerja kita kan. Tapi kalau kita continuously deny our stress, and then we continue to be angry with people, we continue not remembering where we put things, we continue not being able to fall asleep, then it is actually very harmful to you in the long run. Alright, jadi kita tak boleh nak kata aku stres teruk sangat. Kita kata aku sedang mengalami stres. Alright, malam tadi aku tak boleh tidur. Dah 3 malam, 4 malam aku tak boleh tidur sekarang ni. Apa yang aku perlu buat supaya aku boleh dapatkan cukup tidur? Bukan lebih tidur, tapi cukup tidur supaya aku boleh concentrate at the workplace. That is why we need to realize and akui that we are experiencing more stress than usual. So the stress level yang biasa, yang elok to use stress tadi, kita perlu ada. Tapi kalau ianya mendatangkan lebih kemudaratan, we need to realize that. Macam saya katalah, if I begin to drink more coffee than usual, I have to tell myself, whoa, Ari, there's something happening here. Ada benda yang membuatkan aku stres ni yang aku tak boleh nak concentrate. Ataupun I'll share with you, I'll discuss with you a very personal story. 3 tahun lepas lah, bila my father can still walk, dia tak boleh nak bercakap lagi, tapi a level of fasa dementia itu adalah Alzheimer's itu pada masa yang aggression. He would be aggressive, he would be shouting, he would be throwing things. Saya akan mandikan bapak saya. Tapi pada masa mandi itu dia akan gigit. Bukan buka aib, dia nak bercerita saja supaya kita faham. Dia akan buat benda-benda yang, yang mungkin orang luar kalau tak faham akan kata, apa yang terjadi kat rumah tu kan. So every time I wake up, I'd start sweating, I would start feeling my heart palpitations, my stress symptom was physical. It was bordering on becoming anxiety. Then I realized, whoa, kenapa aku rasa macam ni? Benda ni aku tak pernah rasa pun. Right, dan 2-3 hari ni aku rasa macam ni. So bila saya duduk balik, saya fikir, alhamdulillah, I'm a psychologist, so I can do my processing lah. And I realized, sebab every time saya tidur, saya worry about what will happen the next day. Saya bangun, and the first thing that questions on my mind, apalah bapak akan buat hari ni? Bapak akan menjerit, bapak akan campak benda apa? And then I realized, there are some things that I can control, there are some things I cannot control. So I began to work on the way I think, and the way I on what I can control, and learn new techniques supaya my father tidak menunjukkan aggression dia apabila dia dimandikan. So I learned new things. I read more. I reached out to support groups to find out how I can better take care of my father. So alhamdulillah. So what I'm trying to say is, kalau kita deny stress kita tidak akan cari jalan untuk menguruskan ataupun solve the problem. Adam Haziq kata, ketawa boleh hilangkan stres tak? ketawa boleh hilangkan stres pada masa begitu, tapi kalau you ketawa sentiasa walaupun tidak ada benda yang perlu diketawakan, then I think you may actually be experiencing more stress than usual and even, develop, exhibiting some worrying conditions. No lah, I was just kidding. Ketawa boleh menghilangkan stress. So humor, all right. So sekarang ni, I'm still taking care of my father and I have all these things that I need to do. So what do? Sebelum saya tidur atau a way of relaxing myself is to go through Facebook pages yang ada gambar apa cerita-cerita kucing, alright, animals, pets that can make me laugh, so or I watch balik cerita-cerita lama apa keeping up appearances from the British show, ataupun tengok cerita Friends, and just 10-15 minutes of something that can just make me feel good again. All right, so hopefully Adam, that answers your question. So ketawa can really stress because it releases feel good hormones. All right, tetapi kalau ini continuously without any reasons for you to ketawa, your patients pun will be worried juga lah kan. All right, okay, so thank you for the questions. All right, okay, so I will share my screen. So what are the resources that we have? Anyone wants to share? Apa resources yang kita ada? Okay, YouTube, okay. Apa yang saya alami? Okay, alright. Siapa lagi? Apakah sumber-sumber yang kita ada yang boleh sebenarnya membantu kita untuk mengharungi kehidupan yang stressful ataupun emosi yang negatif ataupun cabaran-cabaran tekanan dalam hidup kita ataupun kehibaan yang kita ada. Alright, so dah ada jawapan sikit. Alright, so what I will do is to share with you some of the resources yang sebenarnya kita dah ada dah. Kadang-kadang kita terlupa yang kita ada. Alright, resources yang kita ada, kesihatan kita. Kesihatan kita yang akan dapat membantu kita untuk menjalankan tugas kita dengan lebih baik, untuk menjalankan tanggungjawab kita dengan lebih baik. Resources, physical health is very important. Alright, so macam saya kata tadi, kalau stres berlebihan, tapi kalau stres berlebihan dan berlarutan, kita tak jaga diri kita sendiri, orang yang sihat boleh menjadi sakit. Bila kita sakit, kita akan menjadi tekanan kepada kita. Nak kena pergi ke doktor, nak kena bayar ubat, nak kena pergi surgery, nak kena pergi x-rays and buat MRI. So when we don't have physical health, it becomes a tekanan, it becomes more demands. Maka maknanya demand kita akan berlebihan. So kita kena jaga kesihatan kita, resources kita. Kita cakap macam mana nak buat nanti, resources kita. So that's a resource yang kita kena jaga. Ability to think is a resource. Tapi kalau kita terlalu stres, kalau kita burn out, kalau kita grieving, yang complicated grief, kita mungkin tidak boleh berfikir. So kita kena jaga keupayaan kita untuk berfikir. Alright. So maknanya kalau kita rasa dah tak boleh nak fikir, tak terlalu tension, so we know that it has become a bebanan, bukan lagi a resource. Masa. Now, masa untuk orang-orang awam dengan masa untuk orang-orang frontliners berbeza lah kan, sebab you all spend 12 hours at the hospital, especially now dealing with COVID, some even more than that. Alright, some of you do not go back home. So tapi masa is a resource. Masa adalah satu sumber yang kita ada. Kalau kita tak jaga, kalau kita tak manage well, mungkin akan jadi beban untuk kita. Kita rasa masa tak cukup. Duit, wang ringgit, ada di antara kita yang ada wang ringgit, ada yang kita yang tak ada wang ringgit, ada yang kita cukup, ada yang kita berlebihan. So, kalau kita ada cukup, alhamdulillah. Tapi kalau kita mudah berbelanja, boleh tak jaga wang ringgit kita, ianya akan menjadi bebanan. Support from loved ones. Sokongan daripada orang yang sayang, daripada tempat kerja ataupun daripada keluarga, adalah satu sokongan yang kita perlu ada dan kita perlu jaga. Skills. Alright, skills yang kita ada ni, ramai di antara kita dah mula belajar new skills apabila berlaku pandemik ni. So that if something happens, we can fall back on that. That's a resource. Jadi kalau kita tak nak belajar new skills, mungkin kita akan terkebelakang. Kita mungkin tidak dapat melakukan benda-benda yang kita perlu lakukan supaya hidup boleh dilangsungkan. Macam I'll be very frank with you, saya sebenarnya tak suka IT ni. It's a stressor for me. Tapi saya tahu kalau saya kena work from home, it's my source of income. Sebab saya dah tak bekerja lagi kan kat UIA, my source of income. So if I don't give talks, if I don't know how to use Zoom, StreamYard, apa lagi, Google Meet ke, use all this new technology, Slido, then it becomes a stressor lah for me. So I need to learn new skills. Past experiences, perkara-perkara yang terjadi dalam hidup kita ni sepatutnya menjadi satu resource pada kita, menjadikan benda yang kita boleh gunakan supaya kita boleh menghadapi tekanan yang baru. Self-compassion, rahmahkan diri perlu ada dalam diri kita. Saya akan cakap lebih arah dan hubungan kita dengan Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala lah. Itu adalah penting. These are the resources. Tetapi kalau kita tidak jaga resources ni, ianya akan menjadi satu tekanan kepada diri kita. Apabila ini menjadi tekanan, hidup kita akan mengalami lebih masalah kesihatan mental sebab kita tidak ada cukup cara untuk menghadapi masalah yang kita hadapi inilah. Alright. So how to increase your resources? Ramai di antara kita bila kita nampak phone kita dah mula 20%, kita dah panik. Kita kena cari charger. Tapi diri kita sendiri, apa kita lakukan? Kita charge tak baik? Kita evaluate tak? Kita monitor tak? Berapa banyak resource yang kita ada dalam badan kita? Berapa banyak charge? How much is your body charged? Your self is being charged. Alright. So kita kena tengok kita ni 90% ke charge, 70 ke, 60 ke, 20 ke, dah 5% je ke? Dan kalau dia dah mula, dah turun, apa yang kita lakukan sebenarnya untuk mengembalikan, alright, the energy that we have. So we need to be aware of that. So kalau kita rasa phone kita tu penting, sebenarnya diri kita lebih penting. Kalau kita nak charge battery kita, kita kena charge diri kita sendiri. Dan kalau kita tengok ya, dekat atas tu, feeling great tu, keep meeting your needs and practicing self-care. Feeling good, how can you maintain the levels you're currently at? Or you ask yourself, kena tanya soalan, apa yang kita perlu lakukan supaya kita boleh recharge diri kita? Dan sekarang saya akan share lah some. Dan benda-benda ni sebenarnya semua kita tahu. Tapi bukan semua yang betul-betul embrace ataupun memahami maksud kepentingan kita menjaga diri kita. Ramai di antara kita yang miss lah ya, rindu nak naik kapal terbang. Tapi apabila kita naik kapal terbang tu, salah satu perkara yang kita selalu dinasihati adalah nasihat yang kita terima adalah kalau tahap oksigen kita menurun, rendah, bukan oksigen kita lah, oksigen tekanan di dalam kabin rendah, wear your oxygen mask first before you put it on someone else, the person next to you, your child, your baby. No matter how much you love your baby, no matter how much you love your children, you need to put the oxygen mask on you first. Sebab kalau you tak ada oksigen dalam badan you tak akan dapat membantu orang lain. So self-care ni adalah benda-benda yang kita lakukan untuk diri kita supaya kita kekal sihat, supaya kita boleh mendatangkan manfaat kepada diri kita sendiri dan juga pada orang lain. Ramai di antara orang-orang di luar sana apabila saya mula bercakap mengenai self-care ni atau penjagaan diri, ramai yang kata, oh jadi kita kena pentingkan diri kita lah. Kita kena selfish lah ya. Perkataan selfish has a negative connotation and that's why we use the word self-care. Kita bukan tujuan untuk mementingkan diri sendiri dalam konteks yang kita gunakan selalu, tetapi kita utamakan diri kita dahulu. Kita utamakan diri. So bila kita pakai oxygen mask tu, kita utamakan diri kita dahulu supaya kita boleh bantu orang lain. Tapi kita tak mementingkan diri kita, kita tak pakai mask untuk diri kita sendiri. Kita pakai mask tu supaya kita boleh bantu orang lain. So self-care are activities that you consciously do to preserve your health, right? So self-care ni ada banyak, kita jaga physical kita jaga mental kita jaga spiritual, kita jaga financial, social, and everything else. So maknanya self-care adalah utamakan diri sendiri dahulu supaya kita boleh membantu orang lain. Tapi sebagai frontliners especially lah, kita tahu tidak banyak masa yang ada dia boleh gunakan untuk benda-benda lain, alright. Tetapi berapa banyak masa sebenarnya kita hadiahkan pada diri kita. Tanya diri kita sendiri. Hari itu saya baru saja berikan one talk to nurses and doctors at a dialysis center. And when I asked this question, dia kata, susah doktor, kita banyak masa kita kat tempat kerja, banyak masa kita untuk orang lain. Betul. Dan saya, macam saya kata, saya tidak berada dalam situasi all of you, so I do not know how it feels like. Tapi itu pasal saya tanya, soalan dia, how much time are you able to dedicate to yourself? Berapa banyak masa yang you boleh berikan pada diri? Dalam masa 24 jam tu, dah berikan pada patients, dah berikan pada organisation, dah berikan pada family, dah berikan pada orang di sekeliling, dah berikan pada kucing. Berapa banyak masa kita berikan pada diri kita sendiri? Kita tanya diri. I'm not saying that the longer, the more time you give yourself, the better. It's actually the quality time, but ada tak masa yang kita berikan pada diri kita sendiri? Dan saya rasa, macam mana pun, walau apa yang terjadi pun, kita mesti menghadiahkan diri kita dengan memberikan diri kita masa untuk practice deep breathing. Itu adalah benda yang paling senang nak dibuat dan benda yang paling ringkas. Tapi kalau kita tidak memberikan ianya masa, kehidupan kita yang penuh tekanan akan terus tertekan sebab kita tak ada masa nak relax. Alright, a lot of people say, oh biasalah kita breathe ni bukan tak cukup ke? Sepatutnya kita memberikan masa kita untuk practice deep breathing to relax our brain, to relax our mind, to relax our muscles so that we are able to get enough oxygen to be able then to focus on the work that we do, to be able to provide attention on what we do, to have the physical strength and mental energy to be able to do the right things. All right, so give yourself some time to practice deep breathing and encourage and remind your colleagues to do the same or do it together with them. All right, so banyak cara-cara untuk kita deep breathing, ya. Tapi I like this one. It's a very simple one and I usually share this with children. Tapi sebenarnya orang tua pun boleh gunakan, kita pun boleh gunakan, saya gunakan, banyak guna. Kita boleh buat progressive muscle relaxation, diaphragmatic breathing, right, square breathing. But I'm just going to show you something that's fun, that's easy to do, and you can use your imagination to do. All right, so the one thing that you can do is to imagine dekat satu tangan, all right, kita ada bunga rose ke, bunga yang kita suka, bunga yang wangi, dan di tangan satu lagi tu adalah candle yang burning, it's burning. Kita imagine, kita tak perlu letak pun candle tu dekat tangan kita ataupun bunga dekat tempat kita. So apa kita lakukan adalah we go to the flower and then we imagine smelling the flower. Take deep breath while smelling the flower. So you smell the flower and then you bring your face to the candle and blow it. You smell the flower, take a deep breath, hold that breath for about 4 seconds, and then you breathe out. You blow the candle slowly. Breathe in, hold the breath, breathe out. Smell the flowers through your nostrils, hold it, and blow out the candle slowly through your mouth. You know what? If you do this correctly, inshallah, you will feel more relaxed. Your brain will feel suddenly ada banyak oxygen that goes in it, and your lungs will actually be expanded. When you breathe in and you breathe out, it will constrict, will go down. All right, repeat a few times. Kalau kita tak biasa buat breathing techniques properly, we may feel dizzy. Kita mungkin rasa macam pening kepala, pening lalat. Ya Allah, kenapa ni tiba-tiba pening lalat ni? Sebab mungkin kita tak biasa nak buat deep breathing. I recommend to you that when you wake up in the morning, sebelum kita solat pun, kita buat deep breathing techniques. All right, and then in the afternoon we do it. Just before, after you finish your shift, you do it, and when you go back, you can do it with your children. saya ajar deep breathing techniques to my little nieces yang ada seorang tu umur dia berapa, masa 6 tahun. Dia balik kampung lah, dia kata, Mak Long, I'm so angry at my friends lah dekat sekolah, dekat kelas dia, sebab kawan-kawan dia panggil dia tembam. Dia memang tembam lah masa tu sikit. Dia kata, so marah sangat, rasa macam nak marah, I feel like shouting to my friends. So what I did was to teach her deep breathing techniques. And I said, every time that you feel angry, you feel upset, at home ke, in school, you do deep breathing techniques. So satu hari tu dia balik, dia kata, Mak Long, it works. Amani tak marah-marah lagi dah kalau kawan buat Amani macam tu. Lepas tu Amani ada seorang kawan yang selalu marah juga, selalu pukul-pukul kawan, selalu campak-campak kursi semua tu. So Amani apa-apa Amani boleh buat. So Amani boleh ajar kawan Amani untuk do deep breathing techniques. Juga kata, kita tahu macam mana nak kawal kemarahan kita lah. Ni kita belajar buat macam ni. So I taught her, and Amani, my niece, taught her friend, and they're able to do it. So the next time she came back, she said, Mak Long, kawan Amani dah boleh kawal dah marah dia. Sekarang dia tak marah-marah sangat lagi dah. Dia marah lah juga, tapi dia tak marah sangat. So what I'm trying to say is that it's a skill that we often forget to take. I saw a patient once, and I taught her deep breathing techniques. So I cakap dengan anak dia, alright, so when you go back home, I teach you how to do this, and you remind your mom to do deep breathing. When you see her stressed at work, when you see her rasa tertekan, you say, Mom, let's do deep breathing techniques together. And anak dia tanya, so you mean my mom has not been breathing? Tapi at the end of the day, Alhamdulillah, it's something that they can do together. And it helps. It really does help. You do all the research that you can, and you will find that doing deep breathing techniques can help you to relieve the stress that you're experiencing. Okay. But banyak lagi, like I said, ada square breathing, ada progressive muscle relaxation and things. Prioritize your health. I cannot tell you how important it is to utamakan kesihatan. All right. Get good night's sleep. Now, senang cakap, kata kau senang nak cakap. So my tip is this, gunakan bilik tidur untuk 3S. Kalau you dah kahwin lah, alright, 3S untuk sleep, solat, and sex. Benda-benda yang patut dibuat untuk dalam bilik tidur. Tapi benda-benda yang tak patut dibuat dalam bilik tidur seperti tengok TV, main komputer, main games kat dalam bilik tidur, baca email dalam tempat tidur, that is not the way to do it. You need to shut off the things that remind you of work in the room, which is supposed to be your safe space, your place to relax. All right, so many people actually do not know how to relax before they go to bed. Ada di antara kita, I'm sure, yang pernah tidur dan meeting dalam tidur kita tu. All right, kita dah tidur, kita buat meeting, kita bangun, the meeting dah habis lah. Meeting tak habis lagi rupanya. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan, rupanya aku bermimpikan meeting. That shows that your mind has not rested. You've actually just read, you're worried about your work. You've read an email that reminds you of work. So you need to shut down. And ada orang kata, tapi macam mana nak shut down? Saya kena ada alarm clock dekat phone saya ni. So you need to. So when I ask, tapi kalau you nak alarm clock, you tak perlukan mobile data kan? Tak perlu mobile data. Yang you perlukan adalah phone ringing, which does not need mobile data, and the alarm clock. So it's not easy to do because I know many of us dah terlalu biasa tidur dengan mobile phone kita, pagi-pagi terus check WhatsApp, pagi-pagi terus check Facebook kan. Tapi apa kata kalau kita ambil satu cara, try this out, switch off your mobile data for one night, and then and sleep. And you're more likely to feel better. Of course, there are some other techniques that you need to do before you go to sleep. Jangan minum kopi sebelum tidur. Jangan tengok benda-benda yang boleh membuatkan kita aroused or feel increased emotional level kita sebelum kita tidur. Do not look at your work before you go to sleep. Do not smoke before you go to sleep. When you want to go to sleep, you need downtime. You cannot expect kalau duduk pergi di atas katil terus tidur. Alright, you need to have the downtime for the body to relax and say, alright, it's now safe for me to sleep. Mindful eating. Think about what you eat. Alright, so selalunya kita terlupa makan ni, kadang-kadang kita nak makan benda-benda yang sedap, tapi kita tak rasa pun keenakan makanan tu sebab kita gobble down the food. Kita telan saja makanan. So what we need to do is to remind ourselves to savor what we eat. It doesn't have to be much. It can be anything that you eat, tapi we need to be mindful eating. We need to actually be aware of how it tastes like. You chew slowly. Dalam Islam pun kita disarankan supaya you kunyah selama 40 kali, ya. And then you take deep breaths while you eat. You enjoy the food that you're eating. Saya rasa kalau you ada peluang, make sure that every day, kalau you work from home lah, ataupun bila dah balik ke tempat kerja, make sure you dedicate 45 minit, kalau tak sejam pun 45 minit untuk duduk bersama anak you dan makan dan enjoy and talk about food, talk about what you're eating, talk about the nutrition, whatever it is that makes you feel good. Tapi a lot of us gobble down, okay, telan, okay dah. Tapi kita tak rasa pun nikmat makanan tu. Alright, dan saya juga tunjuk sini how to do, you need to be fed, you need to be moving, and you are moving. Dalam hospital kita nak cakap, oh, you're gonna move all the time. Tapi this is more relevant lah to those working from home, kan? That you need to actually make sure that there is some physical movement. Kalau kita masih tak boleh keluar daripada rumah, kita buat stretching exercises. Even stretching can help you out. Alright, do dance, menari dengan anak sebelum pergi kerja. Menari lagu, what do you call that? Baby Shark ke, Upin Ipin ke, whatever it is. Menari 5 minit sebelum pergi kerja. Menari 5 minit dekat masa tempat kerja. Menari 5 minit lepas balik dengan anak. So, a lot of things people think, kalau aku nak exercise, aku kena buat 30 minit, pakai all the sports gear. Of course, kalau dah tak ada pandemic, tak apa. Kita boleh keluar, tapi sekarang ni kita di rumah. So, try as much as possible to make sure that you move. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, alright, Aisyah radhiyallahu anha kata, in English lah, verily, your own self has rights over you. So fast and break your fast. Pray and sleep. Maknanya, Rasulullah dah pun bersabda, alright, badan kita ni ada hak ke atas diri kita. Puasa dan buka puasa. Maknanya, jaga pemakanan kita, alright. Mesti makan. And pray, relaxation, solat, dan tidur. Make sure you have quality sleep. You also need to show self-compassion atau rahmah diri. Allow yourself to feel, to grieve. Forgive yourself. Alright, maafkan diri sendiri. Jangan kita kata, kalaulah aku buat, kalaulah aku jaga, kalaulah aku. Bila kita kata kalaulah aku, kita telah pun menjalankan dan melakukan sesuatu perkara yang Islam tidak galakkan. Ataupun Islam yang forbids, I think. Do not say if only. If only. So you forgive yourself. I did my best. I did what I could have done. Alright, and I leave everything else to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Practice growth mindset. This is not so, this is something that we need training on. Tapi make sure that you learn, you open yourself and say that you can learn new things. I'm willing to learn new things. I'm willing to actually learn new skills to be an ICU nurse. I can learn new skills to handle the new machines that are being sent to the hospital. I need to actually learn how to take care of myself. I need to learn, to sleep using the 3S method, for instance. Express gratitude in words and actions. Now, gratitude bukan saja patut disimpan dalam diri kita, tapi you can express them to your friends. Thank you very much for staying back last night. Thank you very much for helping me with the document. Thank you very much for, backing me up, and protecting us. You can say all that to show people that you are grateful for them. And you also can, and of course, gratitude to Allah is important. Be kind and generous to yourself. Walaupun kita tak ada duit macam mana pun, alright, kita deserve a bit of something that we like to ourselves. So it doesn't have to be anything. It can be 5 minit tidur. It can be going out and smell the flowers. It can be a 10 minutes phone call to your loved one. Be kind and generous to yourself. Reflect on the good that has happened. This takes time. I'll show you how to do it later. Alright. When I say tadi, allow yourself to feel and to grieve. And bila ada orang kata, kita tak boleh nak rasa kesedihan, sebenarnya banyak ya hadis-hadis dan sirah Rasulullah menunjukkan merasai kesedihan itu sebenarnya dibolehkan dan digalakkan pun. The messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala visited Sa'ad bin Ubadah during his illness. He was accompanied by Abdul Rahman bin Auf, Sa'ad bin Abu Waqqas, and Abdullah bin Mas'ud. Alright, the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, began to weep. Alright, Rasulullah mula menangis. Bila sahabat bertanya, bila sahabat nampak, mereka pun menangis sama. Rasulullah bersabda, do you not hear? Allah does not punish for the shedding of tears or the grief of the heart. Allah tidak menghukum kalau kita merasai kesedihan ataupun menangis, tapi Allah menghukum ataupun memberi ganjaran apa yang keluar daripada mulut kita. So maknanya kita tak boleh nak kata, oh kenapalah Allah uji aku macam ni, aku benci dengan manusia, kenapa aku. Tapi kita boleh menangis sebab kita merasai kesayangan kita pada orang yang kita, orang yang sakit ataupun orang yang baru meninggal. Okay, itu menunjukkan fitrah manusia untuk menyayangi. So kalau ada orang kata jangan rasa sedih, kata aku nak rasa kesedihan tu sebab kesedihan tu akan mengingatkan aku kepada kematian, akan mengingatkan aku kepada kebaikan orang tu, akan mengingatkan aku pada sayangnya kepada orang tu. Sayangnya kepada Allah, sebab setiap kali aku rasa kesedihan, aku menangis sedikit, aku akan turn back to Allah, aku akan return to Allah, aku akan meminta Allah pertolongan. Right? Now, gratitude journal is another tool I think that you can have, and I like this journaling. It doesn't have to be a diary, all right? It can be your Facebook status, it can be your Instagram, apa-apalah. Tapi kadang-kadang best kalau ada buku lah untuk menuliskan. Gratitude journal ni adalah satu tool yang kita gunakan supaya kita dapat menulis benda-benda yang kita rasa syukur. Kesyukuran, kita boleh express kesyukuran kita. No matter how tough things are, no matter how small, because even if it's small, it means it's meaningful for you. All right. So example, so apa yang tips yang kita nak buat gratitude journal ni, jangan nak tulis semua. Tak payah kita tulis semua, tapi kita perlu masa, kita perlu ambil masa untuk mengingati sesuatu perkara yang betul-betul kita rasa syukur. Selalunya lebih baik kalau kita tulis mengenai orang yang kita sayang, orang yang membantu kita, orang yang hidup dalam hidup kita. Kita luangkan masa 20 minit. Kalau kita tanya berapa banyak masa yang kita luangkan untuk diri kita, maybe dalam seminggu tu kita luangkan 2 hari atau 3 hari untuk menulis journal ni. Tak payah tulis panjang-panjang, tapi tulis apa yang kita betul-betul rasa syukur yang membawa makna dalam hidup kita. Alright. So for instance, this is one of my entries lah. Alhamdulillah, I'm grateful to have a team at the office who has each other's backs. I was not able to complete a section of the proposal I was supposed to submit today. And when team members found out, they immediately assigned themselves to complete the task. We successfully submitted the document by deadline. What a huge burden lifted. So saya cerita pasal perasaan saya cerita pasal stress saya cerita pasal gratitude saya. I feel blessed indeed to have teammates who reached out when I'm in need. So saya tunjuk kawan-kawan saya, kata this is how I feel on that day. I thank you for helping me out. Dengan proposal tu kita dapat membina dana untuk membantu Frontliners. Alright, an example lah. And baca balik apa yang kita dah tulis supaya kita ingat balik kebaikan orang. Kesyukuran kita panjatkan kepada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Alright. And that's why I like to write in Facebook sebenarnya, sebab Facebook akan remind us kan, a year ago this is what happened, so you feel alhamdulillah, apalah aku fikir macam ni sekali, sedangkan setahun lepas ini yang aku alami. Allah, banyaknya benda dah aku alami semenjak setahun lepas, banyaknya benda yang dah terjadi yang aku boleh dah ramai orang aku bantu. When you write and you read, you can also hear what you have written. Mobilize support. Nah, kita ada 10 minit lagi. Seeking support, extending support and receiving support. Nah, tak ramai di antara kita yang nak minta pertolongan ataupun sanggup minta pertolongan. So alhamdulillah, bendera putih punya movement ni actually membantu kita supaya melihat diri kita sendiri dan meminta pertolongan. So I think it's actually a good thing, sebab orang-orang Malaysia ni sebenarnya tak pandai nak minta pertolongan, sebab dalam fikiran kita tak nak susahkan orang, kita takut kena reject. Kalau orang kata tak dapat bantu, kita rasa orang tu reject kita. Tapi sebenarnya meminta bantuan ni, kalau kita tak minta bantuan, orang tak tahu yang kita perlukan bantuan. Alright, kita perlu rasa confident diri kita, sebab kita minta bantuan tu bukan untuk diri kita saja, tapi untuk kelangsungan hidup keluarga kita. Alright, mobilize support, kita extend support. Tapi support ni kita perlu tengok apa keperluan mereka. Kalau mereka tak perlukan beras, kita tak payahlah kasih beras. Kita tanya apa bantuan yang mereka perlukan. Kadang-kadang keperluan yang bantuan yang mereka perlukan adalah nak bawa mak mereka pergi hospital. Alright, they need transportation. Okay, that's the support that you can give. Alright, or you need the support asking someone to check your document, your proposal. Okay, fine. So you need to find out what kind of support needs to be given. Ada emotional, ada informasi, ada support physical, all right? And receiving support. You need to be able to receive support, be willing to receive support. Orang dah kasih, bagaimana kita nak menerimanya. Ada kita yang kata, tak apalah, tak payahlah, aku boleh hidup sendiri, tak apa, aku boleh cari jalan sendiri. Mungkin disebabkan oleh doa kita pada Allah, orang tu didatangkan untuk memberikan kita pertolongan kita minta, kita perlukan. Kadang-kadang kita rasa, aku tak apa, aku tak perlukan pun. Tapi kita dah minta pertolongan daripada Allah. Dan Allah turunkan bantuan dari segi neighbors yang baik hati atau kawan-kawan yang cakna dengan masalah kita. Alright? Because and seek help. Kita perlukan bantuan through your patience and your prayer. Now, the questions to ask ourselves lepas ni adalah what has worked for you? Apa yang you have done successfully? What continues to be a challenge for you? And what else are you willing to do or try to do? Dalam menghadapi kehidupan kita seharian, kita kena tanyalah soalan-soalan. Kalau you are in an organization, maybe you should ask this question. You know, what has worked for us as an organization? Apa dah kita buat yang successful? Apa yang mendatangkan masalah lagi pada kita? Apa yang kita belum lagi cuba dan kita dah bersedia untuk mencuba? This is how we manage personal stress and even organizational stress. All right. We can even do my emergency self-care plan. I like this plan. All right. Things that are helpful that we can do to help ourselves. All right. List your top 3 emergency practices. I breathe. Breathing is very important for me. So that's my first one. Secondly, I will actually let someone know if I do need help. All right. So I'll write to my brother's girl, I write to my good friends. And then of course, I will make sure that at the end of the day, I get some rest. Okay. Harmful things to avoid. List 3 practices, people, places, or things to avoid during a crisis or stress. You can do this as well. All right. You do this as well. Avoid orang-orang yang akan mendatangkan lebih banyak stress. This is what I do. I began to remove myself from WhatsApp group yang toxic. Or I do not communicate, or I delay replying to people yang saya tahu akan mendatangkan stres pada hidup saya pada hari itu je lah. Kalau deny berterusan akan mendatangkan masalah. So you also can write harmful things that you can avoid and helpful things that can help you personally. So you can draft your own My Emergency Self-Care Plan. All right, this is from Muslim Malaysia for frontliners. Even if you're not frontliners, this is what Muslim Malaysia is doing to support all of you. All right, not just frontliners, tapi orang lain juga, community members juga. Tapi for frontliners, we have the sokongan psychosocial COVID-19. So maknanya bila kita cakap pasal meminta bantuan, all right, we can call any of the numbers out there, helpline numbers that can support you, that can help you. Dan orang kata, alah, aku cakap dengan dia orang pun bukan dia boleh selesaikan masalah aku tempat kerja. Tapi apabila kita bercakap dengan seseorang tu, mungkin dia akan membantu kita melihat perspektif yang berbeza. Alright, so Muslim Malaysia ada sokongan psychosocial COVID-19 helpline dengan kerjasama Kementerian Kesihatan. Banyak lagi di luar sana, Talian Nur, Miasa Helpline, Befrienders. Tapi di Muslim Malaysia dengan UBS dan Hewlett Packard, kami juga memberi 5 sesi percuma untuk frontliners kita yang bernilai RM1,000. So you tak payah bayar, kita memang dah ada sediakan psychological consultation for our frontliners for free. So what you do is to scan and then make appointment with any of our psychologists who will keep your problems confidential. All right, we will not know. Muslim Malaysia tak tahu siapa yang telefon, apa masalah you all. This is just between you and your therapist. I feel that many of our frontliners belum bersedia lagi untuk menggunakan perkhidmatan ini. Tapi yang telah menggunakan perkhidmatan ini, mereka rasa ianya amat bermanfaat kepada diri mereka. Alright. Alhamdulillah, just to share with you juga, Muslim Malaysia sekarang telah pun diberikan dana oleh Maybank Group untuk membantu frontliners kita di HKL dan Hospital Tunku Abdul Rahimah. Dan salah satu perkara yang kami dapati adalah mereka perlukan what we call the well-being space. Tempat di mana mereka boleh berehat, mereka boleh bernafas, mereka boleh minum kopi, mereka boleh membaca, mereka boleh bersama kawan tapi with physical distancing. Ini belum lagi ada barang-barang di dalamnya. InsyaAllah hari ini akan dipenuhkan dengan alatan, equipment yang boleh membantu frontliners kita untuk berehat. So Alhamdulillah, di tepinya juga kita ada what we call the PFA, Psychological First Aid session clinic, where we house our psychologist and counselor so that anyone who passes around can come and seek psychological support, have a session, bertanya soalan apa-apa pun yang mereka perlukan. So Alhamdulillah, this well-being space akan digunakan, dimanfaatkan selama 3 atau 4 bulan untuk frontliners kita supaya selepas they've had a hard time, before they work, they can come in, you know, in between their breaks, if they have a break, they can come in, before lepas kerja, they can come in, before dia balik rumah, supaya dia rehat sikit sebelum dia you know, berjumpa dengan orang-orang tersayang mereka, so that they feel happy about themselves. All right. So in what other ways can we be of support to you? Banyak cara ya, some ideas, you know, vouchers, kita tahu frontliners kita mungkin tak ada masa untuk membeli barang-barangan ataupun whatever, we can give them Grab vouchers, food vouchers from Food Panda. Kalau yang suka coffee, we can buy Starbucks coffee, Tesco, give them vouchers for Tesco who can deliver food, you know, barang-barang groceries ke rumah. Ataupun bila dah habis semua pandemic ni, we can give them, you know, 2-night stay, 1-night stay dekat a spa, whatever it is lah. There are many different ways that we can support frontliners, tapi kita perlu tahu daripada frontliners apakah keperluan mereka. At the end of the day, remember to take care of yourself, yeah, because you cannot pour from an empty cup. So, anyone has any questions? Bagaimana cara untuk tidur lebih awal? Kerana terbiasa tidur lewat semenjak MCO. Okay, tanya diri sendirilah Adam, apa yang membuatkan kita terbiasa tidur lewat semenjak MCO? Badan kita ni, kita latih sebenarnya. We have what we call circadian rhythm. Alright, so you actually train it to sleep. So kalau kita dah biasa tidur, kita dah biasa tidur awal, tapi kita train pula, retrain dia supaya tidur lambat. So sekarang ni mungkin dia dah biasa tidur lambat. So you need to actually find a way to make yourself sleep, be mentally prepared to tell yourself that you need to sleep, but you need to have the downtime dulu. Alright, so macam saya katalah, tak boleh nak kata, kalau aku tidur 10:30 lah, terus tidur nak expect tidur, tapi sebab badan you kata, sebulan setahun ni aku tidur pukul 12 malam okey je. So you need to retrain your brain. Sleeping is actually very much related to how your brain functions. So you need to retrain your brain to sleep early, but you need to also make sure that the steps that you take lah untuk tidur awal tu, seperti jangan minum kopi, jangan bisa rokok, jangan tengok benda-benda yang boleh membuatkan kita rasa takut atau worry, jangan baca email. So kalau kita nak tidur pukul 10, alright, pukul 9 tu dah kita buat semua tu, kita dah kena start relaxing, kena buat, you know, we do deep breathing, we baca Quran, kita berzikir supaya tidur tu lebih senang. Kalau kita nampak kawan kita depressed, apa boleh kita bantu? Soalan dari YouTube. Alright, so it's a very important question. Oh, ada YouTube juga. Alright. Okay, very important kita kenali simptom-simptom yang kita cakap tadi lah, awal tadi kan. So what you can do, and kita bukan semua kita ada train, we are not all of us are trained to provide mental health first aid or psychological first aid. So first and foremost, I rasa kalau you ada masa, you learn the skills, learn to do psychological first aid or mental health first aid, atau kalau boleh dua-dua sekali lah. Tapi sebagai kawan, apa yang kita boleh lakukan ialah notice the changes. Alright, so you don't have to say, kau ni nampak depressed lah, kau nampak depressed, kau jangan depressed, orang lain semua depressed juga, kalau kau depressed, orang lain pun akan depressed juga. That is not helpful. But what you can do is notice something that is observable, supaya dia tak rasa threatened yang you nak cakap pasal emosi dia. Kalau dia tak share lagi lah, you can say, aku notice lately ni kan, your appetite, you know, you tak makan as the same as usual. You know, aku nampak kau tak kurang makan lah. Kau pun dah macam kurang berat badan dah. You know, is everything okay with you? You can ask lah, of course, better question. You tak nak tanya close question macam, is everything okay with you? You can say, I'm concerned that you have lost some weight. You know, is there something that's happening that you want to share with me? Maybe you can say that. Ataupun you can say that orang tu selalu marah. Alright, you can say, hey, you know what? You're always pretty cool. Tapi I noticed lately ni you banyak rasa, you banyak express your anger. and I'm concerned that it's affecting you, it's affecting the team. Is there something happening that you would like to talk about? I can listen, alright. Aku mungkin tak boleh nak tolong kau banyak, tapi aku boleh dengar. Tapi kalau kau rasa ada benda yang aku boleh bantu, spesifik benda yang kau boleh bantu, aku akan cuba bantu kau. Kalau kau rasa kau perlukan bantuan dengan proposal tu, kau cakap dengan aku. So at the end of the day, the most important thing is your willingness and readiness to listen. Listening is a skill, and I think that every one of us should learn to develop good listening skills. Kadang-kadang kalau kita kata, aku perlukan orang je sebenarnya, terima kasihlah kau dengar masalah aku. Tapi kita kalau boleh jangan judge lah, don't say, kau jangan cakap macam tu, tak elok tau tak. Orang lain pun masalah juga, stress juga. Alright, so what we do is like, kita validate, kau sekarang mengalami banyak stress, kau sekarang mengalami banyak tekanan dalam hidup kau. Kau rasa macam orang tak faham. Apa yang kau boleh bantu? Apa yang kau nak aku bantu? Aku cuba. Kalau aku boleh bantu, aku bantu. Kalau tak, aku cuba cari jalan lain untuk bantu kau. Alright, so make yourself available to support them. Make yourself visible to support them. And extend that help. Alright, kita mobilize support system. Apalagi apa yang saya alami kadang memburukkan keadaan tak semua. Zainab, and that's why we want to actually do this talk. Because kita nak orang semua faham, dan semua orang sekarang mengalami sesuatu dalam hidup ni. Semua orang ada cerita masing-masing. Dan kita sebenarnya tidak boleh nak judge orang. Kita tak boleh nak judge orang kata, kau sepatutnya macam ni, kau sepatutnya lebih baik, kau sepatutnya. Supaya kita, orang-orang sekeliling kita pun sekarang bila kalau dengar, kena faham yang semua ada cerita masing-masing. Ada orang sanggup bercerita. Ada orang nak cerita tapi tak ada orang nak mendengar. Itu saya rasa masalah yang paling besar sekali bila orang tidak memberikan space untuk mendengar masalah kita. Saya nak cerita kalau boleh, Syahira 3 minit lagi boleh? 4 minit lagi?
Faham lah.
Boleh, Doktor?
Okay, alright. So saya nak cerita lah, I was training a group of nurses dekat one private hospital ni. And then dia cerita dengan saya, dia kata, you know what, kadang-kadang saya selalu dapat cuti once a month, hari Rabu, dia kata. Bila dah selalu cuti, orang dah boleh bercakap, orang kata, itulah pet, sister's pet atau manager's pet, sikit-sikit minta cuti dapat, sikit minta cuti dapat. Kita orang yang susah nak dapat cuti dibekukan, dia je seorang dapat. Dia dah mula dengar ura-ura semua ni daripada orang sekeliling. So dia rasa distress, So pada masa training tu, dia angkat tangan, dia kata, doktor boleh tak saya share sedikit pasal apa yang saya alami? Saya kata, of course share. Dia kata, orang tak pernah tanya pun kenapa saya cuti hari Rabu. Dia orang come up with their own reasons. Alright. Sedangkan saya cuti hari Rabu sebab saya kena bawa anak saya yang ada autism for physiotherapy atau rehab, occupational therapy. Suami saya kerja jauh. Saya kena ambil cuti supaya saya boleh bawa anak saya. Tapi tak pernah orang pun tanya. Tapi orang kata, tak dapat cuti, tak cuti pelari ni ke? Orang sudah dapat cuti. So, membuatkan workplace to become very toxic. So instead of asking, you know what, we noticed that you have been taking off days on Wednesdays. Is there something happening in your family that makes you that makes you take the day off? Tanya, show interest. Bukan untuk membawang, tapi show interest. So Zainab, I can feel you. I can appreciate that. I think unfortunately, because a lot of people, when they feel that they are not supported or they don't feel safe or they feel stressed out, they may become toxic themselves. All right. So I hope that I've answered the questions. 4:33, minta maaf sangat tak ambil masa lebih daripada you all. Kalau ada 2 minit lagi, sesiapa ada soalan yang lain yang mungkin nak tanya ke?
Any question from audience before we end our talk today?
Okay. Kalau tak ada, saya nak minta maaf lah. Saya nak cakap saya nak mendoakan agar semua rakan-rakan kita yang sekarang memberi bakti kepada pesakit-pesakit, families of patients themselves. May Allah ease your task, may Allah reward yourself, the things that you do, may Allah grant your doa, memberkati segala apa yang you all lakukan sekarang lah. Dan saya harap kita rakyat dekat luar ni will do what we can to make sure that you have some time to take care of yourself. All right, and I'd like to thank Ayam Kuantan. Ya. Cik Azli baru nampak. Tu he was with me masa dekat Office of Industrial Links tu dekat campus. Was one of the best times of my life, having Azli as a colleague at the office. And I feel that he is one of the more empathic ones, recognizing the importance of talking about mental health. So saya harap all of you out there, bila Cik Azli lakukan sesi ni, it's a way to show you that mental health is real, mental health issues are real, depression is real, stress is real, burnout is real, COVID is real, and you feel that there are safe spaces for you to talk to. I rasa Ayam Kuantan pun ada helpline dia sendiri kan, so insyaAllah please use them. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Haryati, for the nice sharing. Hopefully, all of us can get benefit from this talk. With that, we end our talk today with Tasbih Kifarah and Surah Al-Ans. Terima kasih, Doktor.
Terima kasih, Syahira. Terima kasih, Azli. Take care. Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam.
Jaga diri. Dan selamat berbuka puasa.
Terima kasih, Doktor. And to all participants, a reminder to all of you, please fill up the attendance and feedback form to get the CTD points. Thank you.